Hey, here we go. Another Proper Strategies live cast, live July 28th, 2021. And there he is with me, Mr. Chris Johnson.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Good man in finance.
How are you doing down there? How is Florida right now?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good. I mean, you know what? We definitely don't have any droughts happening in Florida.
No?
It is. I mean, August has hit us, or it's about to hit us. And it's not a dry month in Florida in August. It's quite the opposite. But yeah, I mean, you know, I was looking at, so I have this many apps like we all do on our phones. Right. And I've got this My Radar, I think is what it is. Yeah, I love this app, My Radar.
Oh, where it shows you the lightning?
You could put it shows everything, but you could put the number of fires that are going on. Literally, if you look at the western side of the country, let me just show you this. You can see it on my phone probably. See all those fires?
What? Yeah,
that is. Let me just blow that out a little bit. So there's North America, and you can see the entire left-hand side of the country on fire in one form or another. It's
terrible.
I mean, we just have all the storms happening here. We need to push that stuff over there and douse some of those flames. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Real quickly, you know what we do here with our live cast and pretty much everything else. We talk about spotting rules-based opportunities, creating alternative risk trades. Execution and management are also key when it comes to what it is that we do. Hey, you know, real quick, let me just throw the disclaimer up there. And I'm not going to read it. You guys have seen this all too many times before. But I just want to mention two quick things. As you all know, stock options and crypto, they have large potential rewards, but also large potential risk. Chris and I are not investment advisors. You know, I was going to do this in I was reading about the Vatican, and I thought I was going to come in here and do this, Amen A, stock A, option A, crypto A, reward A, but also risk A.
Oh my goodness. You would have got, obviously you'd get a giggle out of me on that one because you just did.
Enough of that. So, you know, we do have a lot to talk about today, Chris. You know, I want to talk about the news this week. I want to talk about FAANG. I want to show everybody something that's at yearly lows that has caught my attention. And I want to also look into August. And that's where I want to really kind of dive into here for the next several minutes. So, you know, why don't we start off with the news? And I want to share this with everybody first. So, you know, here's the map as I see. You know, I found this on AP. Do you need to wear a mask indoors where you live? All right. I'm looking at it right now. And then, you know, there's a lot of blah, blah, blah. But down here's now, that's not a map that I just showed you, Chris. That's not the map I showed you was all the fires in California, Oregon, you know, and some other parts of the western part of the United States. This shows fires everywhere. But these are not fires. These are COVID. You know, the redder it is, the more likely you have to wear a mask indoors. So let me grab my pointer. All right. You know, it's a little hard to see a red pointer when
everything's red.
Is red. So let me change my pointer color and let's look at a green pointer. There we go. That's going to look good. You see that, Chris?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. There's me down there in Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like I need to be wearing a mask indoors. I'm sorry. I'm the only one in my office, and I need to put a mask on. Where are you at? You're up here somewhere, aren't you?
To your right a little, right, down, right there where Indiana meets Ohio. So up just a little bit. There's that little spot of yellow right where I am. Yeah, 1 o'clock, just a little more. Right there. Bingo.
Okay, there you are. So there's Chris.
Yep.
Chris, are you wearing a mask? No, you know what? Yours looks like you're okay.
Clean living, Tom.
You're okay for now, but I mean, you're only a county or two over from having to wear a mask.
Right. Yep. No, they are starting to unveil the mask. They're suggesting masks right now here.
I mean, you know, all kidding aside, this this map is getting redder by the day, by the week. And this has a lot to do with what's going on in the markets. It really did earlier in the week. Maybe not so much now, because the piece of news I want to talk about now, I believe, does have a lot to do, and that is the infrastructure deal. And so I'm looking at AP. Yep. Boy, look at that woman. This one's excited about the deal. This one, not so much.
It looks like she's trying to hold him back. My goodness.
Yeah, she's please. We don't need this infrastructure deal. Oh, and then there's
Joe Manchin. Look at Joe Manchin in the back.
He's looking down. Not quite sure what he's looking at. Maybe his shoes.
Shame.
Anyway,
he doesn't want to make eye contact.
So you know, this is a big one too. Is that the Senate voted on last night, nearly $1 trillion infrastructure plan. I'm not going to read this thing in its entirety, but I want to scroll down past Chuck Schumer, and I want to scroll down right here. So this is what they say the deal, what the deal looks like. So you got $110 billion going to roads, bridges, and major projects. The power grid. Boy, California's going to get a big dose of that, aren't they?
Yep. And Texas.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. Texas too. Passenger freight and rail, $66 billion. Broadband infrastructure, $65 billion. They could give all that to Elon Musk, and he could light the stars in the sky with that star grid, starlight, whatever it is he's got.
Great, his satellite network. Correct.
Yes, I think that would, forget the what's going on the ground. Put the stuff up in space. The worst case that's going to happen is maybe we see a few more stars in the sky that are not stars, fake stars. But that's a great place to put broadband infrastructure, and then subsidize, if the government's going to subsidize everything else, subsidize the cost, because I think they're charging $125 or $150 a month for this service. So, that could go a long way to subsidizing the cost.
Yeah.
But am I adding all this up correctly? When you add 110, 73, 66, and 65, does that come out to be $1 trillion?
No,
not in my math either. Where's the rest of the money at, Chris?
We know where it's going.
Yes, we do.
It is not infrastructure, and it's the reason that you and I have talked about this before. Man, just put it up there as a yes or no and break it out. Rail or bridges, yes or no. Boom, done.
Right.
And because that's how we get, you've got social programs that are going to be in there.
See that right there? Chris?
Yeah, page 2.
Page 1 of 3. Page 2 and 3, if we really wanted to dive into it, maybe they would offer some answers. But hey, that's the other thing. I believe this is what caused a big pop in the markets today, because it was the $1 trillion number.
Right.
And bam, immediately everyone said, all right, dollar's going lower. Everything else is going higher. So I'm trying to sell a piece of real estate up in New York, Chris. Just listed it. Let's see how long it takes for that to go. And I priced it above the market.
Well, I
got a limit order. I got a limit order on a piece of real estate.
I'm noticing the number of days of listings of properties that I've been looking at is going up now. You're getting up into the 40s and 50s, whereas it was rare that it broke 7 or 8 a couple of months ago.
It is. So, I think I might be hanging on to this a little bit longer, but you never really know. Somebody out of the city or Yonkers or wherever might want to move upstate a little bit, and and if this vaccine stuff keeps happening, let me tell you, I think that might turn around again for the time being.
I believe it could.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
All right. So anything else that you want to discuss when it comes to vaccines, infrastructure, or any other market news that you're seeing? What's on your mind?
Let's talk about vaccines for a second, because there's been and I always try to bring it down, as do you, to where can you make money on this stuff a little bit. And I'm not giving out recommendations. These are just friendly, I call them side trades, Tom. What I've noticed here, if you look at Zoom Communication, if you look at Peloton, if you look at Etsy, if you look at all those pandemic stocks, Chewy included, these stocks have been silently turning around, gaining momentum for the last 2 months, 3 months. And now they're getting a little bit of speed, a little bit of volatility or velocity to the upside here. This is, I've called this jokingly pandemic 1.4, because if we're on D, isn't that the 4th letter in the Greek alphabet? Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, right?
Yes, it is.
So we're 1.4 now, and maybe this is just 2.0. It's going to be a new game because depending upon what you listen to, and the market listens to everything. So depending upon what you're listening to, this looks like you get pretty serious as we head into September and October again. These pandemic stocks are making a comeback. Take a look at them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're
checking on our live stream comments here, hello Chambers, glad to have you here. Napoleon's in the house with us. Antonio, Lauren. Antonio actually is mentioned that Pfizer broke out yesterday. I gotta say, and you know this too, Chris. Man, these vaccine stocks, they are all over the place.
Yeah. I was actually talking this morning about Pfizer. If you look at the XPH, and this is where you get into tracking all that volume and where people are moving money, XPH has died, and that's the ETF for the pharmaceuticals. Nobody's putting any money into this ETF right now, and it's falling.
I got it on the screen right now. Down another 1 3/4 points today. It's in the red, as you can see. And while we got it on here, Antonio's asking about Pfizer PFE. We can pop PFE in there, and you can just kind of see where these things are going. This is the week. The low was 41, the high is 43. May not say much, but that's a 5% move. And then of course we're dropped down slightly today as we head to the end of the week. But there's that. What is it? MNRA.
Yep,
that was the big one. Or Moderna. Is it MN? I thought it was MNRA.
You know what? You get the same thing I do. It's mRNA.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that ticker dyslexia, I call it every once in a while.
Now here's a stock that had a big drop, and I mean it was at 362 Monday morning. By Tuesday morning, it was at 318. So I mean 362 to 318. We're talking about shedding off a good 40 some odd points. That was 12.5% drop. Then between Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, recoup most of that. But here we are. We're down to 2.5% today. And it's a slow day for Moderna.
Yeah. Obviously we're talking about boosters when we talk about those pharmaceutical companies, and AstraZeneca was that one. Remember how AstraZeneca looked like it was going to win that race? That's the one that's been holding out better than all the others in terms of the vaccination companies, Pfizer, Moderna, etc. I mean, AstraZeneca looks like the strongest horse in this one, up 13% for the year.
Yeah.
And you look at Moderna, all right, 234% on Moderna. I'm wrong. But AstraZeneca has definitely been the slower mover, and that's probably simply just because they were slow to get out of the gate and run here.
They were, and I mean, you don't see the kind of news on AstraZeneca because it's not here. It's on the other side of the pond. Let's let them talk about it. But that's what we're definitely seeing here. For those who are just joining us, welcome our Profit Strategies live cast live today, right now, July 28th, 2021. We have been talking about vaccinations, infrastructure, market news. I want to shift gears though, Chris. And I want to talk about FAANG. I want to talk about FAANG earnings. I want to talk about my trades. And then what are boys in the hood? We'll discuss that here momentarily too. But let's just catch the news real quick. If you want to take a look at the news, and I've got, news headlines that have popped up on FAANG. Alphabet's profitability. I mean, Alphabet killed it. They killed it. It killed it.
Yep.
I said this at the beginning of the week, or I may have said it last week. Out of all the FAANG stocks, the two juiciest were Alphabet and Amazon.
Yep.
And I sold premium in them both. And so they did very well for me. New highs in my account from that because they just, and we'll take a look at the stocks here in a moment, but you can kind of see, positive FAANG earnings. FAANG stocks dipped below record. I mean, it's just up and down, the news is just going to portray it the way they see it. This is the way I see it right here. I see it right here, Chris. So let's start off with Facebook. Facebook started out the week in the 370s. It's dropping to new lows right now. I did not like this one. And And it wasn't that I didn't like the stock. I didn't like the options. Didn't like the options on this one, so I stayed away. They looked too cheap. They didn't look as expensive as I like to sell premium. Wow. And then if you take a look what's going on, so this is a drop and drop is what I like to call this, where if you take a look, and I'm going to zoom into just what's going on here with Facebook since yesterday afternoon. Announcement was made. They dropped after hours. They dropped into the day. This is the first hour of the trading day, and we're now dropping below the first hour's lows. So I really see this one. This could really looks like about 350 for support on Facebook, and we could get that as early as tomorrow, especially if Amazon misses or doesn't excite people. And I'm a little nervous on Amazon because I'm holding short premium on Amazon, and I've made a good bit of money because I shorted early in the week. And what's weird is, typically I like to see volatility creeping up into the earnings account, the earnings day, but it's not happening. I'm made most of my money, so I'm thinking maybe I should take my profit, take my toys and leave the sandbox and move on before the big kids come in and push me around. And that's what I'm actually doing. I've got some limit orders out there on a couple of things, and kind of stepping aside, maybe at least on the put side, on the short side, because I've got stuff up on the long side. It's up in the 4200s. So. Ooh. I mean, Amazon's going to have to make a big, big hello.
You know what? Let's
me up there.
Let's talk about something, because you're hitting on the FAANG stocks, and Amazon, obviously the big one that's going to be the pivot point for the week. And I don't know if it's a pivot point, because you got Google that went through the roof. You got Facebook that got problems with Apple, right? I mean, they just said it. This Apple iOS change is going to have some problems. That's why people are selling off on Facebook. Apple. Great number.
Yeah.
But the stock was selling off, and full disclosure, I've got shorts on Apple. The stock was selling off. The one thing I've found constant with all of these companies and their reporting, Facebook is the one I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Man, these analysts are coming out to defend these stocks like I've never seen before.
Well, yeah. I mean, even the guys on the big TV stations that we're not a part of,
right?
They talk. I mean, and they have some decent arguments about how Facebook is retooling up. They're going to revamp how they handle not only, the bears are saying, oh, everyone's opting out. Everyone's opting out of all this crap that's on Facebook. Hey, I'm there with you. I mean, that, last thing I want to see is just stuff everywhere. But to feel like I'm being tracked. But they're talking about retooling up and being able to handle not just the advertising, but the merchandise, but the transactions too. And they're going to eliminate those middlemen there. So, goodbye Visa, MasterCard, American Express, PayPal. They want to circumvent that and grab those extra few points. But you know what? Here's the one thing that nobody's talking about that you and I are going to have a conversation on. And I think you probably already know this. I'm going to move over to something really interesting. Because you're touching a nerve for me. And I'm going to get back to this, and that's the money calendar, because I want to look at August. But you know what I want to do? I want to go over to what we call our app. All right, this is a trading app that we look at, and I'm going to put in a few symbols here. So let's start with AAPL. All right, so I just want to show you real quick. This is Apple. Now, this is Apple, not in the next couple of days, but over the next month. And Apple tends to make that move, as we move forward. But we're not talking 90%. This isn't a 90% move. What I'm seeing is that if you look out a couple of days from now, they get up to 85% accuracy that Apple's going to move higher from this day forward, but not in the next week. In the next week, we see actually Apple falling a few days after their earnings. So let's go ahead and look at Facebook. And you'll see with Facebook, and I'm putting it on the screen, same thing. We're not seeing bullishness until a good 3 or 4 days from today. And then there's a bear out there too. But even the bullishness looks a little iffy because you know why? We're coming into August. And August is typically one of those months where we see a lot of stocks peaking because the worst 2 times to be in the markets on average, and you go all the way back to the 80s, you'll see this, September, October. Yeah, September, October, after Labor Day, it's time to, put the grill away. And I'm talking about the financial grill, not the one that's in your backyard. And just kind of hang out and maybe move aside, get a little more cautious because that's what traders have been doing. Amazon, so AMZN, let's hit that one too. Again, bullishness, not much bullishness, but definitely not in the next week. In the next week, Amazon tends to fall that week after earnings and get a little bit of a pullback. And we also have seen this not just in seasonality, but if you go, and I'm going to run something else here for everybody real quick. So I'm going to show you something called earnings effects. Now I'm going to blow this up on the screen because, I can't even see it on mine, but there you go. So what I want to do is I want to show you what happens. So let's take a look at what happens with AMZN. And I can do all these rankings over here, but I want to see what happens to the stock price after its 4 earnings. Just going to run a little search here, and bam, we got it. Now, typically, this is right after earnings. You get the little pop, up 5%, up 6%, up 2%, up 3%. But last quarter, Amazon actually fell a little bit. This is just that day. So what we typically see, and it doesn't happen on every earnings quarter, but it typically happens around this time frame. We get that pop, drop for a couple of days. And so putting all this information together helps us get a better idea. It's making me look at, the positions I have on. Right. And whether or not I want to stick with them since I've made most of the money on these already. All right. So that's my thoughts on FAANG. Obviously the big one we're looking at today is Amazon, but Facebook's in the rearview mirror, Apple's in the rearview mirror. Did we take a look at Netflix because that was the old dog? I mean, that went out a week ago, but you can see Netflix is just really having a sideways week this week, as the rest of FAANG is announcing. Google, we did talk about Google, but we didn't really show it on the screen. Google really had a nice jump yesterday when they blew it out of the park, and all of a sudden they were up 100 points. Today they're just settling in. I think Google's just going to kind of sit still, at least for the rest of this week. And that means tomorrow. And then next week's going to be a whole nother week as attentions turn away from FAANG and really away from earnings. After this week, you're going to hear a lot less about earnings, even though there are a lot more earnings companies got to report that we're going to see. It's just not going to be that adamant when you're looking at what's happening in the overall picture.
Yeah, you just had 50%, 57%, I think it is actually to be exact, of the NASDAQ 100 report in the last 7 days, calendar week. I mean, this is it. Next week is just as heavy for the S&P 500, or I think we're around 27%, and that'll be the last heavy week. But you're right. That's going to die down. What do you think about that buzz dying down? Because everybody's been whipped up into a frenzy. You see revenue, year over year revenue of 50 and 60 and 40% across the board here. That's, gives you the feeling that everything's great. And obviously it's just comparing it to last year's really bad numbers because it was the first quarter after the pandemic. But after that dies down, Tom, this is where I'm going. And your money calendar says this. I mean, we get a little bit of a lull here, right?
We do. I mean, most of the stuff that I see for August as we go into the month is on the green side. Mm-hmm. A lot of that happened last year, but that's a 10-year chart. We're going to come back to that, and I want to answer that in a little bit more detail. But when you look at the patterns in August, they just produce less and less profits to the upside. They're there. It's just a lot less as it looks to be a type of rollover that's going on. All right, so let's talk about lows for a moment there, Chris, while I give you a chance to suck down that whatever you got in that can.
A little cranberry lime seltzer water, Tom.
All right, I will just assume that that's exactly what that is in there.
Come on.
So the VIX,
Yes.
VIX and VXX, and I'm a VXX trader, but I follow the VIX. We're back to yearly lows again.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because the VIX is an inversion of the markets. And if you want to take a look at, I want to show everybody a couple of charts here. So let's take a look at VIX. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. There we go. And this is VXX. But I want to take a look at, I'm going to put the symbol up, SPY for a moment. All right, so here's your S&P 500, which is making higher lows and higher highs. Now I'm going to throw an overlay on, and this overlay is going to be the at-the-money implied volatility. Let's push this up really close so everybody can see it. So as we were down here at these lows of 405, this is SPY. We also see the VIX was trading at its highs during that time frame. And so you see that high that popped up there, that was a 23. Now, we've since come down, and although the VIX is not as low as it's been, the VIX futures, which is the future VIX, they're predicting, I mean, we're really close. We're really close to those yearly lows. We've gone from a 23 to an 11. So, Chris, to let everybody out here in live cast land understand what I'm talking about, that 23 is a percentage number. All right, gives us an idea of the percentage of the expected move in SPY. Well, that percentage number, which was 23 back there in May, is now 11 today. But you know what that else tells me? That tells me that option premium. If you're a buyer of options, you're paying half the price in time value that you were back in May right now. So any of you that expect the stock market to rally even more, you got to be looking at call buying right now, because you're getting calls at half off. It's like going to Ross stores. It's like, yes. Right now, calls are the Costco of pricing.
Right.
You get them half off, and you don't have to buy in bulk. That's the great thing. All right, TJ Maxx, these things. You can buy them. They're half the price they were at the beginning of summer or right before summer started. And then let's say you think that, the VIX is low, it's time to go, which is the adage that things that when things look their best, that's the time when to start preparing for the worst. Yep. Maybe you want to look at hedging to the downside. Well, buying put options now is half off from where they were when the SPY was trading at 405.
Right.
So what do you like in this area, Chris?
In terms of the VIX, I got to share something, Tom, and this is from just like you, man. When you look at the VIX, there's a saying I always have, and I love the saying about when the VIX is low, it's time to go. But I always say the VIX always knocks twice, just like the postman. The VIX always knocks twice. We got a knock on the door just a couple weeks ago on that Monday morning when I was out in the woods in North Carolina, and it hit 24. So it popped up the 24, knocked on the door, and we still haven't seen that second knock, which has got me sitting here thinking, man, I look at the VIX, and I got a question for you just to clear something up for people that are watching us. But I look at the VIX trading at its 20 and 50 day, and the VIX mines its technicals. Is there a chance that we get like a little bit of a grab up here? Like, they call it the turf monster in football when a guy trips because there's nothing else out there. They say, oh, the turf monster.
Yeah.
We got a turf monster waiting out there maybe for just quick pop in the volatilities over the next week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? And that kind of comes right back to August again, where we could get a couple of little pops, but I think the VIX really starts to show strength as we get into the back half of August and the beginning of September, and then we start seeing that thing creep up. So how do I play it today? Because I like this. Let's go back to this chart for a second, because I like this low that we're seeing in the VXX. So back on the chart screen. And let me move over, and I'm going to put in VXX. This is going to be really interesting, Chris. Check this out. So this is VXX, and look at the options too.
Yep.
It runs 100. It runs in the high 90 percentile of whatever the VIX is doing. That's the options as well. And so the VIX is down here. That 29. This little dotted line here represents 29. and we're 29.36 right now. So I like 29 as a low. I think, we could pop that thing a few times and hit that. It's like when the airplane lands.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm waiting to hear that familiar sound. When you're on the flight and it comes down and everybody gets quiet and you're waiting for to hear those wheels, hit the ground. So how do you play this? I don't want to buy puts. I definitely don't want to sell calls because that's the wrong way to go on this. But selling put options might be not the worst thing in the world to do here. So I'm looking over here at these puts, and these are the 29 puts that expire next week, because the 29 puts that expire tomorrow just aren't worth selling.
Right.
But 29 puts are expiring next week. Well, they're trading 85 by 87.
Right.
I'm kind of hoping to get up to about $1 here in the next, if not this afternoon, I'll look at them again tomorrow. But if we can get up to $1, I consider selling these things for $1. And that gives me a break even of 28, which is new lows. Those are new lows for the year. And I only have a week to stay in that. So that's $1. That's $1 a contract. That's $100 a contract. So again, you look to see what you like. What? And it's very liquid too. You're not going to be the only one holding the matchstick, the long matchstick at the end of next week. This is liquidity at its finest.
So I got a question for you. This was a question I was out there earlier. Let's say I'm a first-time viewer here. I'm not one of those guys that can say, "Hey, Tom, long time, first time." So if I'm a first-time viewer and you hear you and I talking about the VIX, and then we talk about this other thing, VXX, and I pull up the chart of the VXX and I say, well, it's trading at lows. It's trading at its lowest point I could see in the chart, but the VIX isn't. And you start talking about put selling. This looks like a gimme because this thing just bounces across that 29.51.
Yep.
My question to you I'm trying to be a representative of the people here. What's the difference, Tom? Why is the VXX trading at the bottom and the VIX isn't? Why are these the same instrument? What's going on here?
So two things that you need to ask yourself first. Why is the VIX trading at, what is it, 17 or
1750, 1760?
Yeah. And why is VXX trading at in the, what is it, the 20s, 28? How come one's so much different than the other? I'll tell you why. Because the VXX had a reverse split not too long ago.
Bingo.
Clicked it up a little bit. So forget the prices. The prices mean nothing. Okay. But they both are following and trekking on the same road. Now, the reason why VXX is closer to the bottom than VIX is because VXX is a representation of where traders see the VIX in the future. And by future, I mean about 20 days from now.
Right.
That's what you're seeing is different. I could trade VXX on Schwab. If I want to trade VIX on Schwab, I got to go put in a $sign. And I can trade VIX on Schwab. But I like VXX better. And the reason why is that the options are juicier. And I'm talking about not in percentage terms. I'm talking about in whole dollar terms. I brought up $sign VIX earlier today because I was trying to figure out which one I might like. And let's see if I can bring it up again. I got to clear this out. But if I put in $sign VIX, isn't it amazing the stuff you got to remember?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, $sign, come on. 1755. Now, check this out. If I were looking to sell puts on $sign VIX, now, here's another thing. These options, they expire on a Wednesday. You see that 8-4 and 8-11 and 8-18? Those aren't Friday expirations, are they, Chris?
No. Wednesday.
No, like my mother-in-law says, no. So, I mean, I'm a Friday guy. I'm not a Wednesday guy.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of like, the way that I like my burgers. I don't like sauerkraut on my hot dogs. I'm not that kind of guy. I like ketchup and mustard. I don't even like relish on a hot dog. I don't like Wednesday options. It's just, I like to take the money and ring the register on Fridays if I'm going to ring it. So So dollar sign. Now here's the other problem I got with this. Let's say we went out 2 expirations. You know what? I'm not even seeing the screen. You're not even seeing the screen. Here's what I'm talking about, everybody.
There we go.
I get to talking too much, and these things happen. So I can't go back and edit that. So here we go again. VIX, dollar sign VIX. Notice that 8.4, the 17 put. That's close to the money. 12 cents by 19 cents. What are you going to do with 12 cents, Chris? I can't even get. I mean, I can go to a gumball machine. I don't think I can get a gumball for 12 cents.
No. Way off. You're gonna have the kids looking at you cross, holding up the line, trying to get a gumball for 12 cents.
And so, okay, let's look at the 11th. All right, 24. 29. I mean, it's a little bit better, but I kind of like the VXX, which was trading at 90 cents a few minutes ago.
Right.
That has a nice about the same distance percentage wise out of the money to where it is right now. And so, it's one of those reasons I like Amazon too. I can get more premium when I sell Amazon. But these premium sells do come with risk. Now, you had mentioned, you threw that gimme out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm looking at the VIX and Amazon, selling puts on Amazon, selling puts on the VIX, 2 different stories. One does have a lot of risk, that Amazon trade. I mean, it's got about, $3,600 worth of risk. And then the VIX or VXX, let me put the VXX back up on the screen so everybody can see it. All right, so VXX. Now, if I'm looking at put options on the VXX, you can see right now, I mean, they're showing 29.5. All right, those are the near monies. You can get almost 40 cents for the ones that expire tomorrow. But tomorrow. Let's talk about tomorrow for a minute, Chris. So, do you see the markets going even higher tomorrow?
No.
Now, you and I we're getting into a sandbox that, I have some pattern day trades, but I don't think the market's going to go up or think it's going to go down. I have to look at the news and try to get an idea with volatility, whether it's going to go up or down. And so if you look at if you're looking at VXX, that's an option that expires tomorrow afternoon. I have to ask myself, what is the volatility of the market's going to do tomorrow? Well, to me, it all comes down to Amazon. If Amazon is at or higher than the closing price today, the VIX is going to be lower. VXX is going to be lower. If Amazon drops on the news and we start to see FAANGs, the whole FAANG crowd selling off, and if that hits the markets, then the VXX is going to be a little higher.
Yep.
So I could look at this a couple different ways. I could look at it as a pure speculative trade. Go in there and sell those puts, baby, and see what happens. But my break even isn't even 29. It's 20. It's 29 and some change. So I have to me, I think the real meat of the matter is out here a week out later. And maybe a little bit out of the money. Okay, so 81 by 83. What's going on? VXX is getting a few bids here at the end of the day. But I am really going to be interested in what's happening this last hour today, and let's couple that with what happens after hours, because that's
Let's play this out a couple weeks, because you and I both know the VXX is an ETN, so it's kind of got that time. It's got slippage, we'll call it, and that's why you see a downward slope. And when those spikes happen, it's like the lower highs, and then you keep having these lower trends.
Right.
With that volatility that you're expecting coming up, and if you let's say somebody were to sell some of those puts right now, collect $1, collect some, you feel pretty good maybe about your prospects of not only collecting that, but also seeing a pop in the VIX here some point early in August, right?
Oh, well, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen very early in August.
Yeah.
And that brings us really to the last topic I want to talk about today, and that is looking into August. So, Chris, I'm going to ask you, what do you see happening on August? We have, retail. We're going to see a lot of retail companies are going to report earnings, because it's always the strong that starts out earnings and then the weaker stuff ends.
Right.
Your thoughts?
I always love earnings season for retail companies, first of all, because I think, especially now with we've had this get out there trade for the last 3 quarters, I think that's not going to be a big part of it now. You're going to have to look at some of these specialty companies, but I love the retail earnings season because it kind of closes up earnings. After that, August, it's a dog days month. I mean, it really, and no pun intended, but it really is one of those months where you start to see people close up a little bit and say, all right, maybe I'm going to slow down. Your day traders are going to still be pretty active because you're going to have intraday volatility, but you start to lose a lot of those trends and volatility. Historically, the VIX, I think it's its 3rd most volatile month is August.
Yeah.
September, a lot of people don't realize it, is number 1. September is the one where the VIX has its highest average readings.
Exactly.
And that is, everybody thinks it's October because October is where we see those sharp market bottoms.
Well,
no, it gets set up.
October was, that was an 80s thing. That was a 90s thing. That was,
right.
That was the Gen Xer.
Yeah. But to answer your question,
time.
I think that August is going to be spent by a lot of people taking some profits off a heck of a run here and kind of cooling their jets a little bit as they know that there's some volatility coming in the coming months. So I think it's going to be a little quieter and a little list to the downside.
Yeah. Now take a look at this. I have it on the screen right now. This is my money calendar for August, the first 2 weeks. And as you can see here, like I said, Chris, if we're going to use history to try to determine if there's going to be a pop, it looks like it's likely going to happen at the beginning of the week. What I do see over the course of the entire first week of August is we really don't see bullishness hitting more than 78%, and that's on a Wednesday. But you've got only 8% of stocks on Monday qualify as bullish candidates going forward. 92% are bears. Then it's a 22.78% historical probability the first Tuesday in August, and then it just starts to get a little bit better. And even into the second week, we do have a couple of 90s, but I'm telling you, you asked that question earlier, and I said first week, and this is what I'm coming up with is that that first week of August is going to be, and this is primarily because of what happens with FAANG, because FAANG always reports during the end of the month, and it's always that first part of the month where we get a little bit of blowback.
Yep. People, especially now, Tom, when you hear about valuations and everybody making that valuation cry, forget about the valuation. This is a crowded market in select stocks. It's not crowded in clean energy. It's not crowded in REITs. It's not crowded in industrials and value. It's the large cap tech companies that are just right now bursting at the seams with buy and hold people.
Yep. So looking at some of our comments, and thank you guys all for kind of hanging out here with us during this live cash session. We typically run these things for about a half an hour, but I have a little more time on my hands, and Chris, I believe you do the same. Let's see. Salmon's asking, are you looking at put spreads or selling put contracts? He's asking Tim this. I'll have to ask Tim. Is there Tim in the house anywhere? Sorry, the I and the O are so close together. I make that mistake more often than anybody else. So, Salmon, I'm actually looking at selling the put contracts themselves on VIX because I don't see the VIX going to zero. If that happens, Chris and I are out of a job. And I'm not talking about standing here talking on microphone kind of job. I'm talking about being on the trading side, because if the VIX goes to zero, everything just shuts down. I mean,
we're done.
Somebody
turn the lights out.
Punch out like the coyote and the sheepdog, and and move on to the commercials. So I see that. I see some sort of low in there, but there is a risk to it. There's absolutely risk to even when something looks like it's got no risk in it. Then I say to myself, what am I missing? What am I missing? So great question. Antonio's talking about gold GLD. Man, I tell you what, I looked at my GLD position. I was like, wow, what happened here? And you know what? Let's go take a look at GLD. Let me put it back up on the screen here because I have not looked at it. I have not looked at it today other than what I have in my account. And I was pleasantly surprised. Look at that gap.
Yep.
Now, this all started yesterday It started yesterday afternoon when we had that buying in the afternoon, and then boom, and all of a sudden we are hitting resistance right up here around 170, 130-ish. In fact, we're slightly over it. So we get above that. I mean, we went solidly above 171. That was the big area of resistance. So if we close above that and we see some opening come tomorrow ahead of that, then 178, 179, that's your next round number of resistance. So
like the breakout, you look at what's been going on with the dollar, and obviously you've also, is there any tie? Obviously, the dollar taking a big hit today. Everybody's starting to put that hedge trade in. You look at UUP, it's traded down. I mean, it's only what 36 basis points in terms of percentage, but the move on the chart is much more dramatic, and that's where you're seeing gold. Any tie with the infrastructure plan here?
Yes. It's not so much the infrastructure plan; it's just spending more money,
the financing of it.
What was that that controversial video last year? WAP. You remember the controversial video WAP? That if you use Congress, and the sound, the bass sound that comes in, there's some holes in this house, and I said HOLES because there are some holes in the house in DC, and the dollars are leaking out of those holes, and they're leaking into so many other areas right now, and that's why assets like GLD are moving higher.
Right.
Bitcoin too. Bitcoin, that was other big news in that news piece is that Bitcoin got above 40,000, traded almost as high as 41, and then we saw some pullback there. I think I saw BTC down a little today. Let's see where we are on. Well, 39,470. So it's it's still hanging out up there. This is good news for people that have been sitting on cryptocurrency and suffered through the drawdown. Because, baby, we're back is the news story for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency this week.
What do you need to see to make that a follow through? So if somebody's doing a GBTC and keeping it simple, right now you got Bitcoin that flies through, you got GBTC that's coming up above the 200-day, and that discount that everybody was talking about, including you a couple of weeks ago, came into play heavy on GBTC when it popped. But is this the beginning of a new trend in Bitcoin is what everybody's going to start to ask.
See. I want to see a Saturday and a Sunday that are up days, because Saturdays and Sundays are the most volatile days, believe it or not, because the markets are closed, and everybody who can't take a break from the Monday through Friday fix, they're all over Bitcoin because they know that's 24/7.
Right.
We've seen a lot of Saturday, Sunday down days. Last week we saw Saturday down, Sunday up. Really Saturday kind of sideways, but Sunday up, and Sunday night went up big time. I would love to see a weekend follow through that brings the market into the 41,000 area or higher come Monday. That's what I'm looking for. And then I think we're running up to 50% retracement, which puts us somewhere around 46,000 is really the big, 42,000 change. That's right. The Fibonacci 38% retracement on BTC. 46,000 change, that puts us up at the 50% level. The 61.8% level is somewhere north of 50,000 BTC. We need to see an up weekend, Chris. So I think we follow through, and sure enough, mark my words, it would not be surprising in the least to see us above 65,000 before the end of the year. And the end of the year is only a few months. So, we're hitting August next week. August, September, October. We're 5 months away from, holiday season. Even 4 months when you count holiday season beginning in November.
So here's another question, tangent on that. GBTC I mentioned. I get the question a lot, and I'm sure you do, Tom, as well. Riot Blockchain, Coinbase, the derivative trades on Bitcoin. Do these have an all clear if you see us go through 40,000? What's your opinion on the miners?
Let's talk about Coinbase first. So Coinbase has earnings that are coming out next month. I believe it's August the 5th. Do not quote me on that, but it's sometime in the first bit of August. August 5th is a Thursday, right? So So I'm looking at Coinbase, and I think Coinbase is going to have a fantastic quarter because the amount of money they keep when you're buying and selling these cryptocurrencies, it's like being a real estate broker, and you're the selling agent, and you're bringing the buyer along with you, so you keep the full 6%. And that's what they're doing. And yes, there will be competitors that come in. I have noticed that gas, not gas that you put in your vehicle, gas prices, that's the amount of ether that's charged every time you switch from one currency to another, is actually getting a little bit better. So I'm seeing those that's starting to thin out a little bit. That's not going to be so good for Coinbase, but they still have a lot of juice there. And I think we're going to find out a lot of information come. Is it August 5th? It's
August 10th. I looked it up.
10th. Excuse me. So we got a couple weeks to go on that. Riot Blockchain is a pure Bitcoin play.
Right.
Absolutely pure Bitcoin play. They don't make anything. They make no money off of anything but the price of Bitcoin. Right. However, it was so bottlenecked up. They ran that thing up so much that if you look at the differences between Riot and Bitcoin itself, it's the tail wagging the dog. And on the way down, it was way overpriced. If we were to take a look at RIOT, I'll put it up on the screen for everybody to see. A week does not make this company. You can't look at this company and look at 1 week and say, all right, that's all I need to know because Bitcoin's going up and Riot's going sideways. No, you actually got to go and you have to look at day charts. You have to look at day charts on this, and you have to say, wow, we've gone from 79.5 down to the low 20s. Now we bounced up around 32. Dare I say it, but I'm going to say it right now, Chris. Riot Blockchain is probably fairly priced. So it could be a substitute right now for Bitcoin if you want to go trading it into in the equity markets.
Wow. All right. And you've got a nice technical pattern.
I would say that one too. I will give you straight up kudos for the fact that when we were back here on the chart, you know what? Let me bring up GBTC because I want to give credit where credit was due. Right? So remember, GBTC did not. Now this was the high. This area right here was the all-time high in Bitcoin. GBTC was on a rocket ship going up because everybody was buying it. And right here, when we saw Bitcoin at its high, Chris, you said something many podcasts ago, and you said, look at the amount of commercials on GBTC that are happening on CNBC. Yep. And it's almost like when gold was hitting multi-year highs, and all of a sudden you see all these soap opera guys,
selling gold.
Yes.
Yep.
And Tom Selleck is out there doing reverse mortgages. You could peg that to mortgage rates. But exactly. You called it. You said, look at the amount of commercials the amount of money being spent on educating people on GBTC in the form of commercials. And then sure enough, we saw the fallout. I think GBTC, if you see the gap that happened, all right. So this was last week. This was Monday because, we had the gap in Bitcoin and right. GBTC jumped up as well. I'd say GBTC is probably a little bit overpriced, but not the kind of disparities that we saw way back here in February right. to the upside, and even subsequently down here at the end of January, when on this show we were saying GBTC was undervalued by double digits at that time.
Yep, that's correct.
So, final thoughts, Chris.
It's going to be an interesting show next Thursday, that's for sure. I mean, we're going to have a lot to talk about the beginning of August, the end of earnings season, the end of the beginning of earnings season. I'm looking forward to next week because this is going to be an interesting tape for the next couple days. I think, personally, I'm starting to find a little opportunity to build cash positions and, protect myself a little bit here.
I am too. I've got some really good and stocks that I've been holding. I am starting to create limit orders, selling them. I started today. I want to get, if Amazon actually gives us some good news tomorrow, I'm just going to add to that but I've got some stuff that I'm a little overweighted in that I'm taking profits on right now. And maybe I'm taking profits early, but to me, it's a month early. And I'm going to be busy next month anyway. I got a lot of stuff kind of going on that is going to keep me away from the screen more than normal. So I'm starting that selling early. All right. Chris,
Tom, great week.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you out there that hang out with us here on, you can join me on Mondays. We do our live streams on Mondays at noon. Chris and I are here live every Thursday at 2 p.m. And of course, the video of the week I did was actually on Bitcoin and what caused the big move that we had, as well as my next future targets for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole. Thank you guys. Hey, do me a favor on your way out. Give us a thumbs up. Show us some love. And for those of you brand new, we are happy to have you. Feel free to subscribe, hit that bell, that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we bring up a new video. All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thumbs up to all of you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.